come May 29, 2019.
The Transition and Sectoral Committees were given 3 weeks to meet with various ministries and government agencies in the state to ensure a successful transition. The deadline is over, and the Transition Committee Chairman, Muhammad Kabir Ahmad, leads members of the committee to submit their findings and recommendations to the governor-elect. Despite the challenges encountered during the talks, Kabir Ahmad prayed the APC incoming government to consider the recommendations made with a view to implementing them.
In order to carry the citizens of this state along, your administration should at least commence or convene a town hall meeting, an interactive session with all citizens across the state, with a view to explaining to them the state of affairs of this state, the challenges, because the goodwill is there, the expectations are very high.
The findings now present a clear picture of the socio-economic position of the state to Inwehaya and how to start its administration.
The process of implementing some of the committee's recommendations may be very painful, but the outcome may be more beneficial in the long term.
Muhammad Inwehaya also inaugurated committees for swearing in come 29th of May 2019 in Gombe. Emmanuel Akila, NTA News.
Now, the Kano State government says it will utilize traditional institutions more than ever before in the implementation of policies and programs to ensure accelerated development at the grassroots. Governor Abdullahi Umar Ganduje said this at a meeting with the newly appointed emirs of the recently created emirate in the state and their subject in Kano. Abdullah Mustafa again reports.
The indoor sports hall of the Sani Abacha Stadium was full to the brim. Hundreds of jubilants from the 4 newly created emirates converged to say thank you to Kano State government and celebrate the new development in their communities. Addressing the cheering crowd, Governor Abdullahi Umar Ganduje identified the quest for accelerated development in the sectors of education, agriculture, health and security as the ultimate objective of creating the new emirates.
I appeal to the new traditional rulers to ensure that all school-age children must go to the school.
He enjoined people of the respective emirates to support and cooperate with their royal fathers. The new emirs, Tafid Abubakar Ila of Rano, Ibrahim Abubakar of Karai, Ibrahim Abdul Qadir of Gaya, and Aminu Ado Bayero of Bichi, who were already presented with their letters of appointment, expressed gratitude to Governor Ganduje and assured of commitment towards supporting government's programs and initiatives. With the amendment of Kano State Emir's appointment and deposition law, the state now has 5 emirates, with Emir of Kano Muhammad Sanusi II as Chairman, Council of Traditional Rulers. In Kano, Abdullahi Mustafa, NTA News.
And still in Kano, Kano is the home of trade and commerce. But let's narrow our view to the production and marketing of wheat in the city. Abdullahi Mustafa again takes a look at the sector.
Wheat production is a major agricultural activity in Kano State during dry season. Its cultivation rises in 2015 following the economic diversification initiative of President Muhammadu Buhari. From less than 50,000 metric tons in 2015, farmers cultivated about 600,000 the following year. With the support of Kano State government, more farmers joined the business in 2017 and 2018. This brings down the nation's food import bill and revived closed-down flour mills across the country.
Even though we have an understanding with the Flour Millers Association of Nigeria, but the understanding is not still quite impressing. Quite impressing in the sense that the prices that our local market is given is even higher than what they are willing to uptake.
At present, almost all wheat fields around Kadawa irrigation area have been harvested. The major plight of wheat farmers is for the government to facilitate the procurement of improved and heat-resistant seed varieties and link them up with ready off-takers.
And it has to be very heat-tolerant variety seed, considering our nature, the off and on of the cold season that is happening.
Promote the aspect of production by bringing down the cost of production so that the price will be very, very much okay.
Another option by Kano State government is the procurement of small-scale milling machines to minimize loss and promote local processing. will end importation of wheat and create jobs through the value chain. In Kano, Abdullah Mustafa.
This is NTA International News at 7. A break beckons when we come back. Foreign news and other stories after the break. Many thanks for staying tuned. And for stories that made headlines globally, let's join Adebola Brookslyn Sunday for the World in 6 Days segment.
Welcome to this segment of the news where we bring to you some of the happenings around the world in the last 6 days. We told you that the governing African National Congress, ANC, which has been in power since 1994, was expected to be returned to office in South Africa's parliamentary election, but with a reduced majority. In the week under review, we reported that the United Nations Secretary General Antonio Guterres appointed 17 influential public figures around the world and tasked them to promote Sustainable Development Goals, SDGs. Nigeria's Emir of Kano, Muhammadu Sanusi II, is the only Nigerian on the 17-man list of the SDGs advocates. Still within the outgone week, 2 Reuters journalists jailed for their reportage on the Rohingya crisis in Myanmar walked out of prison on Tuesday, free in a presidential amnesty after a vigorous global campaign and backroom diplomacy for their release. They were mobbed by media as they stepped out of the prison after more than 16 months in detention. Reuters editor-in-chief Stephen Adler said they are pleased that Myanmar has released their courageous reporters in an amnesty that included more than 6,000 prisoners. Meanwhile, the death toll from a tanker truck explosion near the international airports in Niger's capital Niamey rose to 60. Reports by authorities Tuesday indicates that the tally was likely to rise further as the prognosis was poor for several people who sustained severe burns. The overturned tanker exploded Sunday night as crowd gathered to collect the 50,000 liters of spilled fuel. We told you that Tanzania plans to introduce a cable car to take people to the top of Mount Kilimanjaro, a move aimed at boosting the number of tourists as about 50,000 tourists climb Mount Kilimanjaro every year. We also told you that North Korea fired 2 short-range missiles in its second weapon test in less than a week. The missiles fired from the northwestern city of Kusong traveled 420 kilometers and 270 kilometers towards the east. The test came hours after a top U.S. envoy arrived in South Korea for talks on how to revive nuclear negotiations.
At least until the end of this year, they are highly unlikely to cross the red lines, which are essentially no ICBM launches, there is no launching missiles capable of hitting the United States, and no nuclear tests.
Meanwhile, President Donald Trump said the U.S. was monitoring North Korea closely following the launch of the missiles.
Nobody's happy about it, but we're taking a good look and we'll see. We'll see. The relationship continues. But we'll see what happens. I know they want to negotiate. They're talking about negotiating, but I don't think they're ready to negotiate.
And we also told you that Iran suspended commitment under the 2015 international nuclear deal a year after it was abandoned by the U.S. President Hassan Rouhani said he would keep abundant uranium stocks in the country rather than sell them abroad, threatening to resume production of uranium in 60 days. I am Adebola Brookslyn Sunday. Thanks for your time.
And Catholic Catholics in Sri Lanka holds first Sunday Mass after Easter bomb attacks and killed 258 persons. Details next.
Soldiers armed with automatic assault rifles guarded St. Teresa's Church at Sri Lanka's capital, Colombo, while members of the congregation were searched for explosives.
As we expected, we have got the normal crowd and the things are moving on well. There's nothing to be feared because the security personnel, they have provided the fullest cooperation they have given, and they have provided the security.
The sprawling church car park was empty as the authorities did not allow any vehicles into the compound as part of high-level security. The government has blamed local jihadists for the deadly April 21 bombings, which targeted 3 churches and 3 luxury hotels. The Cardinal conducted private Sunday services in the past 2 weeks, which were broadcast live on national television. Church officials say Catholic private schools, which remained closed after the Easter holidays, will now reopen on Tuesday. The authorities have banned the National Tawhid Jamaat under the new emergency laws that were invoked to deal with Islamists responsible for the attacks. President Maithripala Sirisena has vowed to eliminate the militants and restore normality in the country, which is still emerging from a 37-year Tamil separatist war that ended almost a decade ago. Meanwhile, Iran's President Hassan Rouhani says the country is facing unprecedented pressure from international sanctions. Rouhani added that renewed United States sanctions had led to worse economic conditions than during the country's 1980 to 1988 war with neighboring Iraq. His comments came amid rising tensions with the U.S., which last week deployed warships and planes to the Gulf. Mr. Rouhani, who has come under domestic political pressure, called for political unity to face down sanctions. Thanks for staying tuned. I am Joyce Ometu.
President Muhammadu Buhari joins the entertainment industry, particularly the movie makers, in mourning the passing to glory the veteran filmmaker Chief Eddie Oboma, who died at age 78. President Buhari condoles with family, friends, and associates of the ace director, actor, and producer whose contribution to the development of Nigeria's film industry remains indelible, starting out early with studies and training in London before returning in the 70s to promote drama and movies. The president believes Chief Oboma, who's not only a gifted storyteller, but a social commentator and an activist, as a theme of his stage and tube presentations explored narratives that directly impacted on many lives and advocated better government policies and programs. President Muhammadu Buhari affirms that the veteran filmmaker, who served as the chairman of the Nigerian Film Corporation in 1988, understood film as a veritable tool for communication and used it positively for national development. He prays that God will grant Chief Oboma soul eternal rest and comfort his family. Similarly, the federal government has expressed shock and sadness at the death of veteran filmmaker Eddie Oboma, calling him as worthy pioneer of the today's expanding Nollywood industry. In a statement signed by Segun Adeyemi, Special Assistant to the Minister of Information and Culture, Lai Mohammed, said the fact that Chief Oboma lived a purposeful life and left his footprint in the sands of time is a soothing consolation for all who knew him. The statement adds that in his lifetime, Chief Obama has produced a number of innovative movies that blazed the thrill and figured the imagination of those who later became the top producers in Nigeria's today's Nollywood. In a way, the success of the industry is a tribute to the deceased and his social co-pioneers. Lai Mohammed expressed the federal government's condolence to the family, friends, and late filmmaker and prayed that God will grant his soul eternal rest. And now to sports. Details with Amanzi Marcus.